Hi YouTubers, it's Demetrio. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a consultant, been self-employed for the last 27 years. And in this channel, I'm actually giving little tidbits of information. So today I wanted to talk to you about incorporating versus sole proprietorship. Which way to go? That was a big thing that I was thinking of when I first started many years ago. And I won't tell you when that was because I will just tell you how old I am. Anyway, based on that, before I start, I like to give a little disclaimer. Before you make a definitive decision as to which way you should go, whether it's sole proprietorship or incorporation, one thing I'd recommend, talk to your accountant and your lawyer. Because depending on the industries you work in and depending on what type of business you need, will dictate which way you should go. So again, please consult with your accountant and consult with your lawyer. Having said that, let's get into it. First thing really, I think you need to consider when you're talking about incorporating or operating as a sole proprietorship is really getting to learn to operate a business. A lot of companies, when they first start out, they start out as a sole proprietorship to test the waters, if you will, to see if it's actually going to work. So a lot of people start as sole proprietorships and eventually graduate and incorporate after they see that the business is viable, it's making money, it's getting to a certain level of excellence or a certain level of success, and then they make that move. So really getting your feet wet, if you will, it takes time. So that's why a lot of people will start with a sole proprietorship. Having said that, the second thing that you need to consider when you're talking about incorporating versus sole proprietorship is limited liability. There's a bit of a caveat here. Be careful, because a lot of people think, well, if I incorporate, I can protect my personal assets. Yes and no. There are things that can actually make you in trouble if you do things that are less than stellar. For example, if you commit fraud on behalf of the corporation, they can come after you. Corporation doesn't protect. If you personally guarantee things, that is also a cardinal thing where they can come after you, even if the business fails. Whereas as a sole proprietorship, unfortunately, that is you. There is no distinction between the sole proprietorship and you, so you would still be liable. So limited liability, yes, there is a bit of a protection with a corporation, but be careful, there are some exceptions to that. The third thing that you need to consider when you're deciding which way to go is tax benefit. Hands down, when you have a corporation, that is taxed at a lower rate than sole proprietorship. Again, it depends on where you're at in the whole business realm in terms of revenue. But the more money you make, definitely corporation takes precedence because they are taxed at a lower tax bracket than if you're a sole proprietor. So that needs to be considered. When you're first starting out though, sole proprietor still works because you can write off everything because it's written off against the money you made doing this sole proprietorship. So tax benefits, definitely you need to consider that. The fourth thing you need to look at is what's called retained earnings. Retained earnings is when you have this cumulative money that's coming into the account that is actually used to pay off shareholders and directors and stuff. It's the residual, what's left over. It's cumulative because it changes day to day. That retained earnings is important, especially under a corporation, because again, the tax benefits, the tax laws, they work in the favor of the corporation based on the amounts. Unfortunately, that doesn't apply with sole proprietorship. There is no distinction. When I say distinction, I mean there is no separation from you and the sole proprietorship. You're one and the same. Whereas when you're a corporation, there is a separate distinction. There's you, and then there's your corporation. Whereas sole proprietorship doesn't exist like that. It's what you make is addition to what you earn if you had, a regular job. So really, when you think about it, those are really key things to consider, and there's others obviously. But I want you to understand that before you do anything, before you decide whether to go sole proprietorship or incorporate, definitely talk to your accountant and definitely talk to a lawyer. For just interest sakes, when I started incorporating or when I started my own business many years ago, I started out as a sole proprietorship. I built that business, I built the sole proprietorship until I got to a point where it was feasible and necessary to incorporate, and I did. But I initially started as a sole proprietorship. If this information is useful to you, and if you like what you heard and like what you saw, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll hopefully be able to post new things for you. If you have any comments, please do so in the comment section because I like to review those and I answer every single one. Hope you're doing well. Bye for now.